I want to tell you about this really important finding from the FBI. And Clay actually, I think, has some expertise on this one, too, as a father of three. The FBI managed to uncover something truly sinister at the home, and they did seize it as evidence. I want to be very clear. That's actually real. Reported on yesterday, it turns out that the FBI wanted to grab the Lego model of the Capitol building. That's right, Legos. That beloved children's toy. There's a Lego model of the Capitol building that one of the alleged chief conspirators in the insurrection had in his home. Clay, if your kids have a Lego White House or a Lego Empire State Building or something, better get rid of it right away. You don't know when the man's going to come for you.
That is so embarrassing. I mean, I know we're talking about NSA failures, but can you imagine being an FBI agent who made that choice? I mean, we do, in fact, have a lot. I've got the 3 kids, right? We have a lot of those Lego famous objects in our house. I know we have the Empire State Building. I know we've had some of the Washington Monument. I think some of the easier ones to craft. I think we have the White House. So, obviously, when the FBI shows up at my door with their search warrant, we are screwed because there are a lot of different... We've also got, by the way, Buck, the Lego Death Star. So that clearly means that I'm trying to figure out a way to blow up the entire world.
Oh, that's
for
cool.
People out
That's
there,
cool,
the Star
Clay.
Wars Death Star.
Your kids are building a weapon of mass destruction out of Legos.
That's right.
I know some guys. We're going to have to send them to your door. But anyway, look, this is... See, we can sit here, Clay and I and you, and know that this is just on a train to crazy town with some of this stuff. But you have to understand, this country is living in 2 parallel realities right now about January 6th. There are some of us who say it was a mostly peaceful protest that did have a component of it that turned into a riot, and people who broke the law should be held accountable for breaking the law, but they weren't traitors engaged in insurrection. They broke property, assaulted police officers. Standard operating procedure, by the way, for the left for months and months in the summer of 2020 under the banner of BLM. But Clay, I wanted everyone to hear this. Here's what I don't like to take personal shots at her. This guy's one of the biggest jerks in political commentary. Dowd over at ABC, he wants to make the case that January 6th, Clay, was worse than 9/11. I cannot believe somebody would say this out loud.
It's much worse than it was on January 6th. And part of the problem is because there's been no accountability, it's given permission to do more of this. And not only is it given permission to just average people out there who might do crazy things, it's allowed the Republicans just to continue this big lie that they've pushed across. What would happen if after 9/11 we had done nothing? Think about that. And to me, though there was less loss of life on January 6th, January 6th was worse than 9/11 because it's continued to rip our country apart and give permission for people to pursue autocratic means. And so I think we're at a much worse place than we've been. And as I've said, I think we're in the most perilous point in time since 1861 in the advent of the Civil War.
Now, this guy's a moron.
Shut up.
Right?
I mean, this is the stupidest. I mean, look, I understand that there are a lot of dumb people who get paid money to go on television. This is the dumbest. This might be the dumbest argument that I have heard this year. That's saying something, Buck, that we're in the most perilous time since 1861. I mean, this is just blatantly not true. In addition to the fact that 9/11 compared to January 6th.
I like how he just slips in and he goes, okay, there was a little more loss of life. 3,000 people, close to 3,000 people, murdered in one mass casualty terrorist attack versus the only person killed by violence on the January 6th insurrection was an unarmed female protester going through a door with no warning and no name for the shooter, by the way. You're going to compare
Ashley
these
Babbitt
things?
Is the only person who died directly because of now the people are going to say, oh, well, there are other people. Yeah, they had other health-related conditions that led to deaths surrounding January 6th. But the only person to be killed that would otherwise still have been alive on January 6th was Ashley Babbitt. And we still, Buck, to the extent that they want to do an investigation, we still don't know who the shooter was. We still don't know whether really it was justified. They just kind of came out and said, yes, it was justified. She was unarmed, former military veteran.
And why can't we know? If this were a local law enforcement agency, if this
we would
were
know
your
30
police
seconds after the video went
absolutely. Out. And if this were a BLM protester, we would have known within hours.
And the officer would have been fired and charged with murder.
And yet Congress, because Capitol Police only responds to Congress, decides to shield this person's identity. If it's a lawful shoot, which is what, in police terms,
which is what they've alleged, yes.
If it's a lawful shoot, tell us the name of the individual, tell us the justification for the shooting, and let the public decide if those parameters are met here. But to do this, can you imagine? They're hiding what was a lethal force incident in the United States Capitol against an unarmed woman, and the Democrats are lecturing us about insurrection every day? I have words to say about this, Clay, but I can't say them thanks to the FCC.
Yeah, it is that argument, the fact that you could make it with a straight face that January 6th is worse than 9/11, even historically to make the argument, Buck, that we're anywhere near where we were in the days of the Civil War or, frankly, World War II or any other major conflict that we have been involved in as a country is laughably absurd.